Hi. Hello, Sonia. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Give you a minute to adjust or you're set?
I'm all ready.
So I'll do a very brief introduction and I'll hand it over to you because no one can do it better than you. But it's great to have you on board. You're the president and CEO of Invest Ottawa, 200 years of leadership experience, private and public organizations. You're also the director of the Institute of Mental Health Research at the Royal Ottawa Hospital. So combined a very diverse set of kind of KPIs and goals, and very befitting to our conversation today. I'd love you to tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into a whole sea of questions.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you. I am incredibly passionate and grateful to be the president and CEO of Invest Ottawa, lead economic development agency here in the capital, working with a host of incredible founders and companies, diverse sectors, walks of life, many ages, stages, and backgrounds, which to me is an incredible opportunity. And I also am a director of the board, as you've noted, of the Royal Ottawa. I'm a co-founder of SheBoot, a World Economic Forum fellow, and on the board of some incredible organizations like Elevate International and Mind Trust, which support youth and leadership for those from every walk of life, equipping and empowering current leaders, future leaders, rising stars. I feel like all of those experiences have come from the community that's invested in me and really build on my values and what success looks like for me as an individual for my life in terms of the impact I hope and strive to achieve on our world every single day in many different ways with a whole lot of folks that are incredible.
I think me and you share kind of the startup growth world that, and I've never ever kind of been able to dedicate that much time. You've been able to dedicate time to mental health, which is amazing, and we all know how important it is. You are a big advocate. I mean, how today's Mental Health Day, tell us about your journey, about how you got here and why you are so involved and dedicated to this.
It's a really important question, and I think each of us has a story. Yesterday, when I was at the Royal Mental Health Breakfast, 1 in 4 Canadians struggle with mental health, have faced mental illness, or will in their lifetime. That's 25% of our population. And in fact, I believe every single individual has those struggles, whether we acknowledge them, realize it consciously or unconsciously. I grew up in a family, ironically, that was dedicated to mental health. So I would be sitting around my dinner table as a 4 or 5-year-old, and our family would be discussing things like Huntington's chorea, anxiety, schizophrenia, right at the table, very openly. And we discussed the challenges and the need for compassionate care in our community. What we didn't discuss, as I've shared openly and hopefully vulnerably with our community, is there was multi-generational mental health challenges through my family, things like suicide, addiction, depression, anxiety that were debilitating, that impacted and led to some very tragic outcomes in our family that were never discussed openly and perhaps could have been managed even to better outcomes, and certainly through different generations of our family on both sides, actually, that I really regret. And so I want to channel that regret into action for impact together with experts and passionate champions and allies. The more we can open up the dialogue and create openness and safe spaces and vulnerability for everyone to raise their story, that creates help for others in so many different ways. And sharing the resources that are available, coming together to drive research, even if it's promoting some of the heroes, the clinicians, the physicians, and the courageous people who are willing to share their stories. So I hope that by me sharing that story, hopefully it will help others to open up. If we had taken different action when I was growing up, all through my teens and into my early 20s, we might have had very different outcomes, including with things like suicide in our family. And so I feel a responsibility and accountability and a passion to help in whatever way I can. I'm also continuing to struggle with the grief of the loss of my mother, very surprisingly and unexpectedly, in 2016 at Christmas time, which is a very special time of year for our family. We come together. It's been precious. Those moments are cherished. And now there's a void, and that void never goes away. It's learning about the coping mechanisms that hopefully, again, a shared experience for every human on this planet. The price of love is grief. And it's a price that I'm willing to pay because love is the ultimate goal, I think, in this world. And so I hope that gives you a little bit of a story about me that I'm really passionate, and that's what drives my choice in the philanthropic endeavors that I undertake. And I hope to bring that to my career, to my personal life, to all the circles I'm privileged to be a part of every day.
Thank you for sharing that.
I'm so touched. I see the response.
Oh, I'm like, thank you for sharing. I mean, I lost my mom around the same time, and I still tell people, I still call her. She's still on my phone, and I still dial her sometimes. And there's nothing like a mom. So really, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. Just coming back to like entrepreneurs, you're perfectly kind of positioned to talk, to bring mental health and entrepreneurship together. You know, entrepreneurs are running, they're really sacrificing a lot, their time, their kind of focus, and they're focusing away from themselves and into building kind an ecosystem. At the same time, they're either building a family and they have the challenges of a young family, or they have the challenges of aging parents or loss of a parent, which you spoke about so beautifully. And the question there is, although large organizations give a lot of support for their leaders to develop them, to help them through the tough times, entrepreneurs are on their own. So how do we make it important, or how do we, I mean, it's all about at the end, the funding. How do we make the funding for this part of the support? You know, like getting someone a CFO is 100% part of the funding journey. Getting somebody better talent, that's part of it. But how do we then say, VCs and investors, this is part of your investment?
It's really interesting because we work directly on the ground, and I'm privileged to be a part of our entrepreneurial community. And we see the pain and the challenges currently here in Ottawa, across the country, around the world. We know that journey is lonely. It is rifled with many, many challenges, particularly when you layer in things like a pandemic or some of the economic conditions, the cost of everything rising, inflation, and trying to drive forward and keep your team whole in this mobile, global talent world. There are so many challenges that our founders face. Some of them are bootstrapped, which means they haven't taken any external investment. And those that take investment have a very different journey with lots of different considerations. I'm a big passionate advocate for collaboration for impact. I don't feel that there is a single part or a single accountability in our ecosystem or in our world for mental health. I believe it is shared. And I believe no matter what path you choose, that we need to look at the host of resources, expertise, and those with lived experience that we can lean upon as part of that solution. We're working a collection of economic development partners and passionate advocates in Ottawa right now on this exact challenge. How do we harness the free available resources from institutions like the Royal Ottawa Hospital, from some of our post-secondary institutions that are doing incredible research, the advocates who are willing to share their stories, the EAP programs that exist in some of those large companies? How can we bring those resources to bear so that no one is left behind? So no matter whether you're an entrepreneur who might have the benefit of having scaled and have dollars to put towards an employee EAP program, or you're one person or two people and you're really struggling, how can we connect you with free resources in the community? How can we ensure that you have access to the right people? How can economic agencies like Invest Ottawa bring to bear free, safe spaces, webinars, opportunities to engage with others, whether it's one-on-one or in a one-to-many session? We're looking right now as a community at this very challenge. I call upon all communities. There are economic development agencies, hospitals, post-secondary institutions, great people around the world who are very invested in this. It takes intention and a willingness to dedicate time and effort and action and prioritize it to make it something that translates into the impact that you're seeking. So we're on a journey. There's no one single solution and certainly no perfect way or silver bullet to do this. But I think looking at the needs of your community, the needs of your founders, we're about to do a survey collectively to better understand how our mental health of all the founders are in our community. We rely upon them responding, and then we're pulling on all the different resources that we can see in our ecosystem. Funding is needed. So I think pursuing additional funding, whether it's not-for-profit agencies, looking at avenues to incorporate that into their funding, prioritizing it as part of their action plans and offerings for programs and services, events, workshops. We all have that accountability. And if we pool all those resources, we will achieve so much more impact, so much faster. We will accelerate the impact that we achieve. Oh, I think you're on mute, Lena.
No, I have a worry about noise, but I think just taking that one step ahead, and one of the things that Stories is planning to do is to create a mental health advisory committee as an outcome of this event. And it's been a really wonderful event, starting with Dr. Gabor Mate. And what would Stories' contribution be in your mind to all the initiatives that you spoke about in Ottawa?
Oh my goodness. I think you raise the visibility of champions and visionary people who are very committed and willing to be open and vulnerable to share their stories so that people feel safe. They feel if you can see her, you can be her, something we say all the time with our women founders and owners strategy. If you can see others who are particularly in positions of decision making, of power, of influence, and it's okay for them to share their story, to be open and vulnerable and walk through all the bumps in their journey, you know that you're just like them. It's a shared human experience, and that it's safe, and that it's okay, that there is a community there, whether it's around the world or within your neighborhood, that you can find people to connect with, to share that human experience and learn from, open up to. I think everyone has something to give, and we can learn from every single person we meet. You're going to be curating a community where those shared learnings and experiences will become very readily available and accessible. People will know where they can connect in, where they can get that guidance, and it will complement all of the other resources, avenues, events, webinars, and different vehicles that we might be pulling together in Ottawa, and more importantly, that other communities around the world are pulling together. You could be a shared resource for the world. So being thoughtful and intentional about who you pull into that committee to ensure that there's a diversity and that it's inclusive, and I know you will, because I know and love Lovna, and that would be part of her vision, but to ensure that everyone sees themselves in that collection, and that you invite and encourage way dialogue, and for everyone to be a part of that in some way, shape, or form, whatever that looks like. The more inclusive, the more diverse, the more powerful, and the more impact you will have. And I know that's ultimately what you're striving for.
Great. So moving a little away from just mental health, but really talking about purpose. And yesterday, it's actually not yesterday, on day one, Dr. Gabor was talking about certainty and how much certainty feeds into mental health and mental wellness. And just you've secured over 300 million in funding. The question is, there is this whole talk about founders pivoting and being able to pivot, but at the same time, how important is knowing your purpose is for founders to raise capital? Because it's like you're being told two messages almost. So how important is the purpose clarity?
To me, I think whether you're a founder and in business and you're defining a purpose for the commercial enterprise or the social enterprise you're building, or if it's for your life, having solid foundation for your vision, whatever success looks like to you, the definition of success, the values that underpin it, the values by which you want to live your life, build your business, and ultimately achieve impact on our world. I love businesses that are triple bottom line, that have a commercial impact, that you must be economically viable to be a successful business, that have a social impact, that improve our quality of life collectively in some way, shape, or form, and even achieve an environmental impact, that triple bottom line. If that's part of your success recipe, then you are going to ensure, no matter how your business pivots, that that's your North Star. Knowing your North Star and determining that it's okay to take many roads can lead to the same destination, as they say. It's the path that you choose, the how you get there. But I believe in being firm, in having that vision for your life, that North Star based on values and the impact that you're looking to achieve. And then the how, well, that's the beauty in the journey, and that's where all the learnings are. So you may stumble 100,000 times on the way to getting to that destination, to achieving that impact. But if you know that's ultimately where you want to get to, you will have the tenacity, and our founders do. They have grit, they have tenacity, they are determined. They came through the pandemic, they came through the convoy here in Ottawa. I see it every single day. Even though the road might never look as they predicted, and no road does, whether it's your personal, professional, or entrepreneurial journey, we always have to be prepared and ready to twist, to pivot, and to take different chances, those risks and those abilities to face that uncertainty. But no, ultimately, my end goal is that definition of success. then I think many roads can get there. And the joy is in the learning and in the journey and all the people you meet along the way that help you and that you help in return. The beauty is that two-way exchange and the value that you create through every step, even if it wasn't steps you anticipated you would take.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, and if you just look at purpose on its own, and it's lovely when you know your purpose. I mean, one of the things you spoke about is the loss of a loved one. And when I lost a loved one, I went back and I did kind of my list of what's important to me. You know, if I look back, what are the things that would really matter that I do? And I think the losing of a loved one always makes you revisit the why. But really, it's not that easy for everyone. So if there was a magic wand that would help everyone find their purpose, I mean, what would that look like?
In a day and age where we are all incredibly productive, to quote my friend Heidi, or busy, for those of us who look at the mountain of opportunities, challenges, potential, there's so much coming at us 24/7. And when you think about what truly lights you up, what fills your cup, as I say, what makes your heart full, I believe fundamentally, whether it's an entrepreneurial journey, a business, a relationship, any goal that you've set, philanthropic or otherwise, if it brings you joy, chasing joy and filling up your cup, you will know intuitively whether or not the kind of joy you're experiencing is the path that you are meant to be on, the one that you want to remain on. The moment that something is not bringing you joy, that you fundamentally don't feel that it's the right step. And I always believe that deep down we have an intuition, we know. And if we take the time to pause in this very busy, jam-packed world, to just stop and be quiet with ourselves and be a little bit introspective and really think about, you know, what life means for us, what success looks like, what brings us joy. Because the minute you translate joy and passion into anything you undertake, it's not a job, it's a life mission. When I interviewed for the role of Invest Ottawa, that's what I said to our board. This is not a role, this is not a career enhancement or a step up. This is part of my life's mission to build our city, to build our founders, to build our companies, to help everyone achieve their dreams. Like, there is no greater joy that I find every single day. And we put in so much blood, sweat, and tears at Invest Ottawa with all of our partners and all of our clients, and we love them and I love them. And that's how I know this is the right path for me, because I feel joy every single day, even on the hard days, and those bumpy days come. It's never a straight line and it's never easy, but it's worth it. If you can look in yourself in the mirror and say, this is the path, I feel joy, even when it's hard, and I might be in tears or frustrated. If you know fundamentally, you've got to keep striving for that end goal, and you know that the joys outweigh the challenges or the pain, that to me is one of the biggest indicators. But you have to be able to be quiet and to reflect. And that's a challenge for me because there's always lots of exciting things happening. So carving out that time and making it a priority, making yourself a priority, is perhaps the best piece of guidance that I might offer. And that can look different for everyone, no matter who you are.
Great. You know, you spoke about kind of making Ottawa a better place and the joy you get out of that. It is truly like it makes me very happy to hear that, because I really think that I've lived in so many cities and I'd love to make a city my home, and I'd love to, you know, feel this kind of joy to look and say in 10 years time, this is where I want to be, and I'm going to be part of the success of where I come from. And, you know, you're doing that. And that's just something that I haven't had the joy of getting, but it sounds like what a fantastic thing to belong and to be able to contribute. So yeah, I'd love to come and see what you've done.
Please
And
do, because it's the
Lubna
people.
keeps on saying I must come, so I don't know, you need to get a bit warmer and then I'll be on my way, but maybe
You know
not.
what? While we have cold weather, we have warm people. It's the community. So a city is the collection of people who bring it to life, who help it achieve impact. It's the incredible people that enrich this. I'm proud to be from Ottawa. I love Ottawa. I'm proud to be Canadian. I love Canada. And I feel a responsibility, and we can all demonstrate leadership in whatever journey we choose, no matter what path we have taken. We can all give back. We can all have an impact. And, you know, and we have a responsibility to support others around the world. We are very blessed here in Canada. I am very blessed as a white woman, and I feel an accountability to support others in their journey so that they can equally receive those blessings and have, and achieve the dreams that they set, whatever they might be.
Great. what we will do now, and if I may, Sonia, because I know the audience have a number of questions, so I'm going to get enlist the help of the stories team to bring in some of the questions from the audience.
There's a question that says, are there people born leaders and people born employees or followers? And can a person's mind change from a follower to a leader?
That is such a great question. And we do this in Mind Trust, one of the organizations I'm on the board of. We ask this very question. And I think leadership can be expressed in so many different ways. I believe leadership is a choice. So while we can have inspiration within our families and be born into a family where leadership might look a certain way and people execute on that leadership responsibility in one particular way or another that we interpret and are essentially part of the culture and grow up, experiencing that and having that role model. Leadership is a very individual journey, and the attributes you bring to bear, we can each make our own. So you can be a leader as an employee of an organization. I see them every day through our organization and through the many others we work with. Leadership is action. It's the choices we make, the intention we bring, and how we look to improve the world around us, whether it's businesses, whether it's our environment, our community. We can all take action. You can be a brand new graduate and starting off as a frontline associate, being a CEO, or being someone who's pursuing something philanthropic that you're not even being paid for because you believe in that cause. That's all a demonstration of leadership. It's a mindset translated into action and impact that you determine. Set the goals, set the vision for your life, and take action on it. That would be my response.
We've got another question here in the Q&A from Daniel, who asks, what strategies are most effective to ensure that the pursuit of growth doesn't come at the cost of one or their team's mental health?
This is such an important question, Daniel. Thank you so much. And it's an important question that I think every leader, no matter what role they are in, and again, whether you're a CEO, a manager, a director, open communication and staying in touch with your team, your employees, those you're collaborating with. I would go beyond the employee structure to ensure that you've created a safe, trusting space so that you can have two-way open dialogue, because things happen in life and we can never exactly know anything or everything that those around us are going through. There's a saying that we all have a cross to bear. I think that being open, creating trust, having that dialogue, making it a priority to check in with those around you, whether they're employees, colleagues, collaborators, your family, to see how they're doing and to be authentic about it and to take that time, to carve out that time so that other things don't encroach upon it in this very productive, busy world in which we live. If we make it a priority, then people know that when you're listening, that you're there to help. And offering suggestions if and when appropriate, and sometimes just the art of listening and active listening with the intention to truly take it in and not with the intention to reply. Communicating that and showing your team or those that you're working with that you're going to walk that walk and also be open and vulnerable yourself is really, really important. If you prioritize it and you check in and you create that trusting two-way dialogue, I believe that you will get further down that path and making sure that the structures are in place so that people know they can raise their hand if it's too much. If I can't manage this today, I need to be able to come to you to look at an alternate plan, to reshift priorities, to redevelop the plan so that we can all succeed and not at the cost of my mental health or the mental health of others on the team. Those would be some initial ideas, but there are probably many others in the Brain Trust gathered here today. This would be a wonderful one for that advisory committee that you were speaking of, Lena, to undertake, giving people the tools, the ideas, and the practices that others are putting into play. This is wonderful. I love the interactive dialogue. This is beautiful. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I've just been hanging out very casually here and then realized, oh my God, they're going to want me to actually be camera ready. So thank you so much for allowing me to come and ask my question and for my doc to jump in with her 2 cents. I'm also from Ontario, Canada, so I hope that my question is, it's going to be somewhat within that context, but I hope it's broad enough that everyone can benefit. And that is a little bit twofold in that within the context of Ontario, especially around mental health, organizations tend to be fairly siloed from each other and a little bit disconnected. when somebody is experiencing mental health challenges, navigating our mental health system can be very overwhelming. I also know, as on the flip side of it, the employer small business side of it, seeking out resources that you can be able to provide to people can also be challenging. So my one question to you was, what do you do to stay on top of what's available and how to access it so that you have that ready made for somebody when they come to you? Googling's not the time when somebody's sitting in your office. And then the second part of my question from a small business perspective is, I feel that, have you called the EAP is such a human resources slough off, and so very dismissive of somebody who's coming in very vulnerable. And I was wondering if you could talk about what you do to encourage somebody to access the resources that you have provided them. Recognizing that we don't want to be cold, but we don't want to cross the boundaries either.
Amazing questions and lots to unpack there. So I can share a little bit of the steps that we've taken in our community or that we're working on currently. So we have a team of passionate people that work with founders in our business community that are doing an assessment of all the different resources, whether it's at hospitals, post-secondary institutions, through individual employers, and trying to create a collection or a toolbox that we would then collectively promote, so that it becomes part of our ongoing promotion and marketing and part of our ongoing program, where we might have different types of founders who are coming in, no matter what door, no matter what program, Main Street founder, tech founder, that this would be almost part of the resources that would be available, the very same way we offer advisory services or access to all kinds of events for free and maybe meeting room space, that it almost becomes part of a standard offering. So integrating that in, how you stay on top of those resources, that takes work and prioritization, building it into an annual plan in terms of service delivery, and ensuring that, just like we would assess economic impact data on a quarterly or biannual basis, that we're going to make sure we build that into our annual plan, that we're going to do that sweep and make sure we build relationships with those in the community that have this mandate. So I sit on the board of the Royal, so that's a choice I've made, and it gives me wonderful access to be able to know in a very advanced way what resources are coming down the pipeline, new programs, new initiatives. And so I'm able to share those with our community, tapping into the boards, tapping into those relationships in any community, because there are community relationships that can be harnessed, where it's like pulling that brain trust together, publishing it and making it consistently accessible, not by one organization, but by a collective. The critical mass sharing of that information on a consistent basis with an action plan to update it regularly would be one step. When you have an individual employee, and I'm not an HR expert, but I've had the privilege of working with many HR leaders, I would say ensuring that there's trust, openness, and core values that are translating into action, so that employees know that they can come to you with a challenge and be open about the degree to which they might need your individual support, the support of others, the support of other organizations, and almost being able to say, and helping them to arrive at, this is the kind of support I need, and making recommendations perhaps beyond an EAP. And if you're fortunate to have an EAP, I can't underestimate or understate that is a wonderful asset to have, but there might be other avenues. Let me connect you with the Royal Ottawa. Let me connect you with this peer group that we're aware of, because we've done this work as a community to see what avenues exist. There's a gathering of leaders that are going to be talking about these very challenges, but in some cases it'll be very personal, very confidential. And I would say then it's the individual coming back and maybe consulting individually with a Royal Ottawa expert, a hospital, a clinician, a psychologist, looking at the array of experts with lived experience and resources at their fingertips. We've taken some of these actions in our journey, both with our employees and our founders. One thing we did in our team, we actually contracted someone from the Ottawa Royal to come in and do a wrap session, as we called it, an open dialogue. We were all sitting in a circle and talking about the state of our mental health currently and challenges that we were working through. And it really bonded our team. And it was probably as we were coming out of the pandemic, I believe, that we did this. So a really unique time where there was a lot of intense challenges, whether you're managing children at home, elderly ones. We had people directly impacted who lost loved ones in their immediate family from COVID. Like, we had some very serious challenges. And it was a step. It wasn't a silver bullet. It wasn't a single solution. It was part of our overall commitment to try, as part of our learning journey, to support our employees better. People are very open. There's many different experts. You've got to prioritize it, put some resources, people power, and dollars behind it if it's a priority in your annual plan. I hope that helps.
I think EAPs are important too. I think maybe sometimes where we fall short is how we communicate that as a resource to our employees. And sometimes when we don't feel equipped in communicating them well, we can hide behind the call the EAP. And so, yes, I really appreciated your thoughts on how we can better communicate and engage with our teams around mental health. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Sonya, thank you so much. I think we're wrapping it up. I can see Lubna shows up, so I know our time is up. Great talking to you. I hope we cross paths very soon.
I would love to welcome you to Ottawa. Thank you, Lena, for all of the great support and the leadership that you're demonstrating. It was a privilege to join you today.
Thank you,
Take good care.
Sonya. Thank you, Sonya.